Count it all joy, Charles is back online. The Equally Yoked Show. Get yoked for free. Count it all joy, Charles is back online. The Equally Yoked Show. Get yoked for free. Count it all joy, Charles is back online.
Welcome back to the podcast. Honored to be with you today. This is the Equally Yoked Show. We are talking about affordability because we need assurance for Americans. And I think the sort of messaging needs to either stick with what has been promised in the first, I wouldn't say the first, but rather the campaign promises that were made to Americans as to even why people decided to vote for Trump this time around. We're going to be talking about affordability. Now, this seems to be a major talking point amongst many Americans, amongst people who are really speaking up about this stuff. And I think it's vital for the Republican or conservative party to keep on this messaging. And I think one thing that was really effective when it comes to the Zohran Mamdani message is affordability. And I think this is one of the major reasons as to why he won in New York in the first place. Now, as he does continue to speak on his messaging when he considers himself and talks about himself as a democratic socialist, I think even then his messaging has been really effective when it comes to communicating to the young people, the renters of New York. And of course, I think a lot of people are attracted to this narrative, are attracted to this word affordability. I think this is exactly why people voted for Trump. Even Zohran Mamdani said himself in the interview, or rather the press conference in the White House, where he said the majority, or when he talked to Trump voters, they actually said they voted for him because of affordability. Now, we're going to be going over a couple of clips with JD Vance talking about this. And then we're also going to be going over a few clips from the White House meeting when it comes to Mamdani. But otherwise, I think it's important to just start off first and foremost by those that are just joining the podcast. Thank you for being here. Honored to be with you today. I'm your host, Charles. We're going to be going over this stuff at length, and hopefully you guys can stick with me and share with me in the comments as to your guys' thoughts. And also, I would like to know your full thoughts, full comments by emailing me at freedom@equallyyokedshow.com. And let's get on with the show. So this is JD Vance here, and he's talking about affordability. I think he's going to be the sort of voice for those that are championing, or he's essentially being the champion of this message for affordability. I think this is key for the conservatives to keep on this messaging so that we can see a good midterm turnout and also for 2028 elections. So let's hear him now.
The Mamdani's rise can be attributed to his, everybody's, the new buzzword, if you will, is affordability,
Sure.
right? Like, so how do we, people out there feel like they're, the economic situation isn't that great. Look, we're 10 months to the day here since the inauguration. But they want to see more. They want to see more action. We've seen a lot of steps you guys have taken. A lot of people are putting a lot of faith in what Secretary Besson is saying, that the first half of next year the economy is going to boom because of the policies you guys have enacted. What's your message to those out there who feel like they haven't seen that gain yet?
Yeah, well, first, Matt, the government shutdown didn't help, to be clear. And I do think that actually pumped the brakes a little bit on all the great economic news that we were seeing. And look, the Democrats, our attitude was, why are the Democrats doing this? They're the party of government. Why are they shutting down the government? For 10 years, they said to shut down the government is an act of economic terrorism on the United States. And it's sort of a question that answers itself, because I think that they were so worried about what the Trump administration is doing that they were willing to blow the whole thing up, hold a gun to the head of the American economy in order to get what they want. And that's going to cause a little bit of damage, but I think it'll be ultimately very, very minor because we were able to get the shutdown wrapped up. And I guess my message to the American people who are still feeling like things are unaffordable, who are still feeling like things are rough out there is look, we get it and we hear you, and we know that there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of wood to chop because the Biden administration put us in such a very, very tough spot. And the way that I think about this is it's always helpful to take this from the abstractions to the actual real things that people are worried about. So take, for example, a dozen eggs. I'll never forget this. It was one of the very first, maybe the single first press conference that the president had done since he had started his second term. And some reporter, probably from ABC, yells at him and says, "What have you done about the price of eggs? The price of eggs are up 300% over the past 3 years." And it's like, it was January the 23rd. It's like, what do you mean, what have we done in 2 days? It's going to take a little bit of time to fix that problem. And so if you're an American who's just struggling to get by, you work hard, you pay your taxes, you want your kids to have good opportunities, and the price of eggs goes from $2 a dozen to $8 a dozen under the Biden administration, and then under the Trump administration, it goes from $8 a dozen to maybe $6.50 a dozen. Well, to you, that is still a major problem.
Now, we're going to go over a video with the Secretary of HUD talking about why these prices have soared, the price of living, really. And we're also going to be going over the clip where Zohran Mamdani talks about Trump voters and why they voted for Trump, and then also why they voted for Zohran in a moment. But this is key because ABC has become somewhat of a meme when it comes to reporting because of, I believe it was that reporter that was, I believe, from ABC that was called Piggy. And this has been going absolutely viral in his response. And Caroline Levitt comments as to why this is the case and why he would have called her Piggy. We don't know. He's been pretty just outspoken on how he communicates with anybody. And obviously people, they take it as very personal. And I get it. I understand it. Now, whether it's right or not, I don't think that's probably the best way to speak, but he's been speaking that way probably for a while now, since even his first term. He's been known to have that type of language. Now, does that make it right? I don't think so, but otherwise it is what it is. People have called him way worse names, and it doesn't go as viral as calling somebody Piggy. Just in my opinion. So we're going to get over to this clip here with Zohran Mamdani talking about affordability and talking about, well, not really in full length. We're going to be looking at that clip, but we're looking at this clip here. I'm going to take you there now. This clip of Zohran talking about his voters and why they voted for Trump and the number one reason why.
Cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare. And too often politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focused on that same cost of living, and that's where I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
Now, this is interesting because we have Zohran who's going to the meeting, and it seems like they had a one-on-one meeting, possibly Zohran and his team, but of course a one-on-one meeting, and this seems to be one of a first. And obviously, New York City is a huge city, and we're talking about affordability, and this is the biggest conversation, and I think that was said and sprinkled throughout the Zohran and Trump White House press meeting. And so otherwise, the messaging is, it's just all of the reporting and the questions that are coming in from the news reporters in the room. They seem to keep going back to affordability, and Trump seems to be on board with giving Zohran support rather than stifling him when it comes to anything that will prevent New York from being affordable again. Now, whether the differences, Zohran kept saying, look, despite the differences, and even Trump kept saying, despite the differences that we have, we still kept on the same conversation about affordability for New Yorkers. And so this might give those that were planning to leave New York a little bit of a reprieve, because they are seeing that Zohran wants to work with or rather is willing to work with the President of the United States. However, whether he holds up his end of the deal, and I'm talking about Zohran, because he still is doubling down on taking on Trump when it comes to still calling him a fascist, and we'll go over that clip in a moment, but also when it comes to issues with maybe ICE, who knows? And it seems as though the current, I think it's the commissioner, or what I forget her name, that is head over the New York PD, where they're going to keep the numbers the same, the number of police forces the same, and he's not really fully explaining himself when some of the reporters are asking about, putting social workers instead of police officers. And he's continuing the same message of keeping the police where they need to be when it comes to the more concerning calls. And so we're going to go over that clip in a moment, but otherwise, let's take a look at this clip from the Secretary of HUD, who goes on explaining as to why home ownership and why it's just getting more expensive for the average American. And so, Jerry, you say here, oh, got it. I think you're responding to a comment, but otherwise, glad you're here, brother, and you're only staying for a moment. That's okay. I'm still glad you're here. Time to rethink this entire system. It doesn't work and will never work. There's a lot of things that I think need changing, and both the parties, this just seems like very political, and it almost seems like just a sitcom of a show. Unfortunately, what we've seen what happened with the shutdowns and what we've seen happen with the Epstein files, which just only time is not on our side here, because we need these files to be released ASAP. And so what we have now and what will come out, I think will really reveal the dark side of politics, and hopefully we get more transparency than what we have now. So let's take a look at this clip.
During the Biden administration, the immigration policies crippled our nation. Over 12 million illegal immigrants or illegal aliens came across our border, really stifling our housing affordability and supply issue in our country. And when you have this many illegal aliens coming over, taking homes that are supposed to be for the American people, affordability is automatically going to go up. Kaylee, here's an interesting stat for you. 59% of illegal alien families use one or more welfare programs in America, costing us about $42 billion a year. And so we have to get the immigration policy in order, which President Trump has done and others in the administration. But yes, illegal immigration has definitely stifled housing affordability and supply.
One of the things that I think is really fantastic about the Trump administration is you're always coming up with new ideas, whether it be tariff dividends, the healthcare payments. And in your case, you're in housing. We've heard about this idea of a portable mortgage, perhaps a 50-year mortgage, and that we can debate the efficacy of all these ideas, but you're coming up with solutions. Tell us about some of those conversations. Do you all get in a room and just plan and think, how can we help the American people? Here's some new ideas.
Now, this has been big, and the solutions for getting Americans into houses rather than just being in a forever renting stage for Americans. We don't want to keep on renting. We definitely want to be owners, and that creates for a stronger American society. Not only that, does it give you strong equity and to build generational wealth. This is something that he has also expressed in some of the interviews that he has been doing, and I think this is on a sort of he's on a messaging campaign to ensure Americans that there are policies and ideas in place to keep, or rather put Americans into homes. And a lot of what's being floated around right now is just to get people in the game is to have 50-year mortgages. Now, whether that's a good idea, I don't know. Obviously, you're going to be paying a lot more in the end, especially for those that are 40 years old just getting into a home. You'd be 90 if you even lived to 90, paying off that home. And so, look, I think there are better policies that I'm sure we can think up of, and there's smarter people that can go and really debate these issues and put them to the test. And really, I think we just need to understand more about what they're trying to do when it comes to home ownership. Now, of course, they want to deregulate to build more homes. This is one of the many ideas that Charlie Kirk was sharing, was to build 10 million new homes for Americans. And of course, we want to have more, sort of ways to put our feet in the door so that we can then become owners. And so this is a very interesting topic when it comes to owning versus renting. And, we don't want to be people of renters. Now, going back to the Zohran Mamdani clip, and I want to address a comment here. Somebody says, yeah, the 50-year mortgage, that you love that idea to buy rental properties to build generational wealth. Look, there are a lot of people that will probably somehow take advantage of this 50-year mortgage. And, there has to be policies in place for major corporations like BlackRock and, a lot of other ideas to get Americans in the door, the family units in the door, rather than people that just want to profit. But of course, that's what capitalism is. You have the ability to profit on policies like this. And I guess that's somewhat of the great thing of capitalism. Not that it's not greedy or what, but otherwise, this democratic socialism messaging is becoming very popular. But democratic socialism wants to really make more people renters rather than owners. And so it seems like they might have some ideas, Trump and Zohran Mamdani, but otherwise, we'll see. Somebody said your party has never passed a policy. Look, the big, beautiful bill is in effect in 2026. Now we need to really we want to see the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. We want all this stuff to take effect, because this is going to benefit the economy. And hopefully there's a lot more things that get tied to that. And we'll start to see more. Again, this all goes back to the messaging of, rather than instant gratification, what the Biden administration was providing us with, it's better to have the delayed gratification of implementing strong policies now. But the problem is the Democrats that keep on using the filibuster in order to block or prevent Trump's policies from really going forward to help the American people. So there's a lot of things here that are preventing Trump from fully really realizing his agenda of making America great again. It makes it a lot harder. So let's take a look at this clip. This is the clip of Zohran Mamdani being asked about calling Trump a fascist, and then we'll get his response in the interview that he did shortly after.
Clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes. Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Mr. President, I wanted to...
So that was really it. Trump just said, you know what? Just you don't even need to explain it. It's fine. We don't even need to go there. And I think they were trying to just sort of deflect the animosity. And obviously they have differences. Obviously there's a lot of things that they don't agree on. And it was more productive to focus on those things. And I understand that messaging. But of course, I think this still shows that Trump is willing to talk to those who don't agree with him. And he's still willing to negotiate and to have these conversations. Now, this is his messaging, his comment, that he still sticks to that same messaging of calling Trump a fascist, even after the meeting.
In that press conference with President Trump, a reporter asked you whether you believe that President Trump is in fact a fascist, a word that you've used in the past. You were about to answer, then President Trump sort of jumped in and he said, quote, "That's okay, you can just say yes. It's easier than explaining it." So, Mr. Mayor-elect, just to be very clear, do you think that President Trump is a fascist?
And after President Trump said that, I said yes. And
so you do.
And that's something that I've said in the past. I say it today. And I think what I appreciated about the conversation that I had with the president was that we were not shy about the places of disagreement, about the politics that has brought us to this moment. And we also wanted to focus on what it could look like to deliver on a shared analysis of an affordability crisis for New Yorkers.
Now, mind you, Zohran Mamdani has become a sort of blueprint for what's happening in New York. Bernie Sanders, who's, well, you know, he was popular back then, but now it's sort of shifting this position. The Democratic Party is shifting their position to keeping their eye on Zohran Mamdani because he's becoming the sort of face of the Democratic Party. But not only that, I do believe that they're going to start to consider themselves more of a Democrat socialist party at some point, because the messaging seems to be hitting with a lot of Americans or foreign born, like the ones that have voted for Zohran Mamdani. That's not a sort of, this is because of the polling that has been conducted and the recent data that has showed of the foreign born voters who voted for Zohran Mamdani, where we're starting to see, obviously this is becoming more and more popular amongst foreign born and amongst some Americans who want to see this party grow. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to implement this across the nation, according to Bernie Sanders in a podcast interview, where he's talking about this sort of being the blueprint for the rest of America. And so this is interesting because we actually have a mayor who's going to be running against Karen Bass, who's a socialist. And so she might have, again, a popular position with the people because of how this messaging is being very effective for the young voter. Now, of course, even though the youth vote turned out for Trump in 2024, doesn't mean that we've got them on lock. Essentially, they still need to be convinced that Trump will deliver on these affordability agendas, and that's very important that the conservatives can still keep on that same messaging. Now, of course, going back to the interview, we're going to see one of the policies that Zohran Mamdani really was. People questioned him on it, and he's still going to keep that same messaging about the white neighborhoods being taxed more. Now I think he's somewhat not answering and trying to, I don't know, trying to make it sound not like what it is, what it actually is, because it's still about race. It has nothing, as he wants to put it, it has nothing to do with race, but it still has everything to do with race. So let's take a look at this clip where Jack Posobiec, who is pressing him on this matter in the interview, and you can hear him in the background. Of course, you're going to see him ask the initial question, but then he's going to just hear it in the background. Hopefully you can hear it.
Mr. President, I wanted to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mandami talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general, and so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our city.
But to be clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
that's what you said.
No, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
That's wild. So he continues to deflect on the actual issue at hand, that he's taxing whiter neighborhoods. And he's saying it's not about the race. Now, I think Anthony actually makes a good point here. He says, really, if Trump was truly, now he's replying to somebody else in the chat, but he says, if Trump was truly a fascist, why would he invite his political opponents to the White House for talks? Would a true fascist do that? I don't think so. Now, he's using some very good critical thinking there, because that is true. If you actually think about it, he wouldn't be inviting his opponents to talk on the matter of making America great again. Rather, it's exactly what he's doing. And he will continue to do that, even with people that even with people like China, where clearly there is not a good economical relationship with China in America, but he still goes and continues to try to negotiate and meet, rather than being like a dictator and a king who will just continue to make policies and rules that are unfair, making him a dictator, making him a king. He's not that. He's willing to negotiate. He's willing to come to the table, and whatever his deals are to make America first, he's going to continue that messaging, and hopefully hopefully at the end of 2026, by next year or the next 2 years, we'll see these policies really benefit the Americans. And of course, what we're seeing right now with America and with people, senators who are former military, have former military experience, now going on with this messaging. And you've probably seen this clip go viral throughout the last couple of days, because this has been shared a number of times, making its round throughout the media. And there has also been the likes of military personnel, former military personnel, who've gone on the record to basically say this is ridiculous. It's completely radical, because they're trying this messaging campaign that they're saying, look, you should not obey orders that are illegal. And so this is a representative who's a former Navy SEAL talking about this matter.
This is the same gang that told us that the border was secure, Joe Biden was in great health, and that Republicans caused the shutdown, right? It's almost like when they lie, they speak their native tongue. And the American people, thank God, I think, see right through it.
And if they want whistleblowers in the military, that's kind of funny coming from the Democrats after what the Biden administration did to whistleblowers when they were trying to, spread the word about what was happening there at the DOJ and beyond.
Well, Laura, look at recruitment. Recruitment is
through the
roof because, American service members and those young men and women who have patriotism and want to serve our country know that they can finally go serve a commander-in-chief and a secretary of war that are going to get our military away from all this woke nonsense, and they're going to get them back towards lethality.
I think that really annoys them, by the way. They got rid of the rainbow flag, the trans flag, the trans dances at the Pentagon. I mean, all that's gone. And they love that. That's the only thing they really, I'm not talking about Congressman Crow, he served, but a lot of these other Democrats, they really enjoyed the kind of social experimentation in the military and the social justice stuff. And that made them like the military. And that's gone, and they're really sad about it.
Yeah, but our service members clearly hated it. That's why recruitment was down. And now, once again, it's right back up.
Now, it's interesting because we have an article back from 2023 that says Biden's Pentagon can't recruit new soldiers, and that threatens us all. Now, it goes on to basically say, until this trend changes, thousands of young Americans will miss out on opportunities to better their current circumstances. Part of the problem is that growing numbers of Americans now view attending college immediately after high school the sole path to success. And then it talks about turning America around. And so it goes on with the information concerning recruiting. But otherwise, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this recruiting for American military is beneficial to the country? Because I think it is, because it's going to give us obviously security for our nation. And not only that, did we see many who were being bold when it comes to the Border Patrol, when it comes to those who wanted to serve the nation under Trump, as opposed to Joe Biden and the DEI practices that we saw. Even Tulsi Gabbard, who was talking about DEI and how they got rid of it in the intelligence community and what was going on there. I wanted to play that clip a while back in a podcast, but we shifted onto a topic from that point on. But otherwise, these policies were really hurting our military, and ultimately it didn't prove that it would make us more unified. And even our ads for military serving in the military, they caught nobody's attention. And a lot of people were comparing that to the Russian recruitment videos. And I mean, ours looked like, I don't know, very, very bad, to say the least. How could I explain this? Because there were just the animated video of like the woman who has like two moms, and gosh, that video went super viral during that time. If you guys know what I'm talking about. And ultimately, I don't think it caused anybody to want to recruit into the military. It didn't make us seem strong at all. It was just bad messaging, bad campaign. And now I think the campaigns are more effective now, being that we have a strong leader in that position, that is the new director or the Department of War. And so this is Caroline Levitt, who's talking about Trump. As the commenter said in the chat, if a fascist would invite his opponents to the White House. Here's that messaging.
Rest assured to New Yorkers and all Americans, the president is going to continue to put you first. We're going to continue to slash regulations to bring down prices that were caused by the Democrat Party. We're going to continue to drill, baby, drill, unleash America's energy independence. And of course, we are going to continue to mass deport illegal criminals from our communities. And ICE will continue to operate in New York City. And that discussion took place in the Oval Office today. President Trump's never going to change his values, but he's always going to try to work with others to make this country great.
But, you know, we are seemingly, Carolina, and I really like your thoughts on this, we are at a crossroads, because I don't think there is a way, and I'll talk to Stephen A. Smith about this later in the show, I don't see how you reconcile defund, dismantle, no bail laws, and reimagine the police like Mamdani wants to do and put in the social workers. I don't see how you reconcile those that want to raise taxes all over the place and the president's strong commitment to creating a thriving business environment and cutting taxes for working men and women.
Now, look, also the conversation about making New York safe, and of course, with possibly sending ICE into New York, making it safer to root out the criminals, because New York being a sanctuary city. Now, the sort of messaging and the conversation surrounding that in the Oval Office, of course, there was a lot of deflection away, but saying that Trump is, and Trump also communicating the same messaging where Zohran Mamdani was saying, look, Trump is sort of on my side with making sure that America is safe, or rather that New York is safe. And Trump is saying the same thing. Look, I'm going to support Zohran Mamdani to keep New York safe and to make it safer. Of course, they didn't seem to have much of a sort of disagreements. And a lot of people are, the World Socialist website that Mamdani and Trump packed, and the bankrupt politics of the upper middle class pseudo left. Basically saying this, here we go, let's see. It says the immediate political consequences of Mamdani's visit will be to confuse and disorient the very people who brought him to office. After all, a significant factor in Mamdani's victory was the widespread and deeply felt hatred of Trump. Now, I think a lot of leftist, Democrats who don't like Trump and think he's a fascist and think he's a king, and really didn't want this meeting to happen. The likes of which this socialist website talks about. That he's no better than the capitalists that are currently in office. And so it seems like they're pretty upset about this, but otherwise, let's continue on here with the rest of these videos. I do want to, you know what? We're not going to play because we already talked about that subject, but here's some interesting stuff here. This is, let's see here. Okay, we're going to shift our conversation for a moment to Candace Owens. So Candace Owens is obviously, and by the way, before I get into this, guys, please consider subscribing to this podcast if this is your first time here, and like and share. And of course, if you want to support the podcast, by all means, you can support by super chat, and that would be beneficial into growing this channel. But otherwise, Candace Owens is on this mission to really find out what happened to Charlie Kirk. And her messaging has been very, very strong concerning some of the conspiracies that she has been public about on her YouTube channel. Now, this is obviously something that is concerning because we take these things very seriously, but she says, I have informed people in the federal government and the White House of the France and Israeli assassination plot, and am willing to provide full details as well as the name of the assassins and international accounts in France and Canada through which money has exchanged. Beyond that, I have shared more information with the public regarding the Brigitte story I was investigating at the time of Charlie's assassination. This is all available on my Instagram stories. Thank you all for reaching out and praying for my family. So she had initially had a tweet talking about people calling for, or rather the French MI6 calling for her assassination, or rather, I want to say this is the original tweet. Let me see here. I am told that payments for assassinations are running through the Club de Sens in France. This might not be the original one. Let me see here. Oh yeah, it's going to be this urgent. Here we go. Urgent. 2 days ago, I was contacted by a high-ranking employee of the French government after determining this person's position and proximity to the French couple, being Emmanuel Macron and his lover wife. Zach, God bless you for the wonderful jewels, the multiple gifts. Amazing. God bless you. I appreciate that. I didn't see you in the chat. Are you just joining us? And then it says here, I have deemed the information they gave me to be credible enough to share publicly in the event that something happens. In short, this person claims that the Macrons have executed upon and paid for my assassination. Yes, you read that correctly. More specifically, that the green light was given to a small team in National Gendarmerie Intervention Group. I am told there is one Israeli that is on this assassination squad, and the plans were formalized. Again, this person provided concrete proof that they are well placed within the French government apparatus. Further to this point, this person claims that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion 13th Brigade with multi-state involvement. Journalist Xavier Pouchard's life is also at risk. Oh, rather, there was a period there. I completely read it as a run-on sentence. It says, this is deadly serious. The head of state of France apparently wants us both dead and has authorized professional units to carry this out. I ask that every person retweet and share this. I do not know who in the American government can be trusted since this source claims our leaders are aware, but I have more specific information which is definitively verifiable. They should they care to reach out to me. To the brave official in France who did this because they were so moved by the evil of Charlie's public execution to risk their own life. May God bless you truly. Now, this has been seen by 36 million people, plenty of re-shares and likes. And of course, this is concerning because if this is indeed true, then what exactly do we make of this, guys? I want to know your thoughts. Of course, please feel free to email me, freedom@equallyyokedshow.com. And let me know in the comments. Look, the Charlie Kirk assassination and everything surrounding that, and the strength that we're seeing from his wife, from Erica Kirk, is phenomenal, to say the least. She is indeed really showing true Christianity in that she forgave her husband's assassin, or alleged assassin, rather, I should say, and she's trusting that God would fulfill his whatever judgment should be made upon the person in question and upon anybody involved with this assassination. Now, this is interesting. This needs to be taken serious. Her life could be at risk. We're not going to make fun of this, even though we think that her conspiracies are pretty wild. And we've talked about them somewhat at length when it comes to the conspiracies, where she's talked about, the possibilities of certain people in certain videos even accusing the Turning Point staff for not doing enough about this. Now, obviously, the Turning Point staff can't really say much because there's probably footage that they've seen. There's a lot more that they know because of those who were involved with the Turning Point event, being that they were, I would say, working to capture the footage, to capture the social media clips. And so everything that went down really is, they're going to be probably legally bound to speak up on the matters. And so what comes out, again, as I said with the sort of Epstein files, time is our enemy, because January can't come soon enough as when all this stuff will begin to unfold with the court proceedings concerning Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin. So look, there is a lot of conversation concerning this, and we want to take this seriously, like I said. And so we're going to switch sort of the topic to Venezuela, and the president actually calling for the Venezuelan President Maduro to step down. Now, people are saying this is a sort of a coup that might happen, or a sort of replacing of a government. But otherwise, it says for the safety, this is Nikki Haley saying, for the safety and security of all the peoples in Latin America, it is time for Maduro to go. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley. I'm not sure how we will make this happen, but I know that we can't stop. She said right after her speech during a press conference organized by the Council of Americas, we have to continue to isolate Maduro until he gives in. Now, we can't keep continuing to get into this foreign entanglements nonsense. Obviously, we want to focus back to to America first, and we want to keep America strong. And of course, it does involve somewhat of, policies being made to help America in the long run when it comes to foreign policies. And look, there's a lot of conversations to be had when it comes to what policies are good, what policies will benefit us. Now, ultimately, we do want to bring back, manufacturing to America. We want to bring back, and I think the tariffs are doing an excellent job in bringing money into the country. This is a good thing. And look, we can have our differences of opinions on this matter, but otherwise it seems as though this is proving to be true. Now, whether this will continue on in the momentum that it has going into 2026 and going beyond that, look, when it comes to the messaging that we need to stick on as far as affordability, this is something that needs to be really pushed by social media, pushed on social media, pushed by conservatives to reassure Americans that we are going to be seeing a more affordable America. Now, like I said earlier, I don't know about you, but I do want to own a home myself. And so I want you guys to continue to vote in the poll that is going on now. Is Trump delivering on America first? Trump is most certainly, in my opinion, is working towards that. Now, are we seeing that right now? I don't think so. We're not seeing America be as affordable as we want to be. Now, of course, we've seen gas come down. We've seen some grocery prices come down when it comes to eggs and maybe milk, because those were, kind of crazy to think back just last year. More than 10 months ago, we saw the price of eggs and milk really shoot up so high. It's just bad. Now, look, when it comes to where our country stands right now, it's not going to be a country that we're hoping to see at the beginning of the administration, but obviously this takes time, and this comes with policies being enacted. This comes with policies being voted on, and whether we have strong political leaders to make these policies happen. Only time will tell as if these policies will indeed prove to be effective. Now, I'm just looking at your guys' comments here. Finally, I want to know your guys' thoughts. freedom@equallyyokeshow.com. We've got a lot of comments concerning the economy, a lot of comments concerning the situation with Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk. Guys, where do you guys think, again with the poll, where do you guys think if Trump is delivering on the America First agenda? I think this is going to take time. This is going to take time to fully be fleshed out and realized under the Trump administration. Now, if the 2028, which I don't think the conservatives are holding down the youth vote, really keeping them to want to at least keep voting for them, especially through midterms and through up till 2028. This is going to be a tough game to play, because Democrats are proving to have effective messaging when it comes to Bernie Sanders, when it comes to Zohran Mamdani, and the way that they're communicating to the youth. This is going to help them in the midterms and in 2028. And so who we're possibly going to see running for the presidential primary in 2028, we'll see. I heard AOC is taking the lead in that. And so what's interesting too is Marjorie Taylor Greene also is resigning from Congress. Her last day will be in January. And she's actually gone on this messaging talking about that she's not going to be bullied. And I appreciate that, of course. Obviously, I think she's very has a good position concerning this. Now she's saying, look, I stood up for Trump and I stood for his policies and I defended him basically at every turn. And now he's sort of bullying me. And she's saying, look, I'm not going to be bullied. But what is the ultimate agenda? Why is she leaving Congress? I believe she was only there since 2020, if I'm not mistaken, in her video that she did. And she says, look, I will continue to live my life not in Congress and to keep America first. I'm not sure how she plans on doing that, not being in Congress, what her ideas are. Otherwise, it's just interesting to see all of this sort of political fiasco going on because of this Epstein file. And I think a lot of what people are saying in the conservative sphere is that the Epstein files were built to do this, to separate and to split the Republican Party on the matter. Now, ultimately, when these files come out, we're really going to see who has egg on their face. And obviously, I think right now it's not looking good for the AG, Pam Bondi, because of her messaging at the beginning of the campaign to the release of these Epstein files, and suddenly she went silent when it comes to the files, saying there was actually nothing when it comes to the hundreds of gigabytes that we researched. And we're just going to go silent on this. So what comes out of the Epstein files, we're going to have to see. And yes, we need them released. Now, there has been actually somebody who created a mock of the current files that are released and available to the public, called, I think, Jmail. And I haven't looked into this too much, but otherwise, I think that's kind of hilarious, where you can actually kind of look through the emails of Epstein. And somebody said, isn't Bill Clinton in the files? And yes, people are saying that, well, who's Bubba? And even Epstein's brother saying Bubba is not referring to Clinton. But I think are we going to really believe the psychopathic liar and his brother, who's probably the same? Are we going to believe the pathological liars over the victims who have exonerated Trump more than what the files, the emails are portraying Trump to be, where they're trying to get him on, catch him in a lie? You said, YouTube Punk, did I see the Bernie Sanders did you see Bernie Sanders in the files? I saw the YouTube short that you put out there. I need to watch it again because I was a little distracted when I watched it. But so far, the evidence of what we have in the files is a lot of money going to Democratic politicians. And obviously the likes of Hakeem Jeffries, who was taking money from Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of the obviously the Clinton administration, and a lot of stuff coming out of that. And we'll see what happens with the rest of the files being released. And thank you, Zach, for also saying, double tap the video to like this. Amazing that you guys are here and listening to this podcast. Guys, this has been awesome. This has been great. And I want to thank you guys for being here thus far. We're going to end this. We're going to conclude this poll here. If you want to get your final votes in, is Trump delivering on America First agenda? So far, the overwhelming majority of you is 57% versus a 43%. So 57% saying no, Trump is not delivering on America First agenda. I want to know your thoughts. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just, what are your thoughts? Because I think it's the same messaging that we see across really all of the Democratic side, is that we're going to continue to take on Trump. We're going to take on Trump And it's the same messaging of Zohran Mamdani. We're going to continue to take on Trump. And this is also the same message in Congress, in both the House and the Senate. We're going to continue to take on Trump. We're going to do the filibuster on things that we don't want to vote on. We're going to continue to redistrict our maps because of Texas, when there's a whole context to that. Yes, we're going to conclude that not much more votes are coming in. So we're going to end the poll here, and you're going to see the final results there. Somebody said, whatever happened to Vivek? Vivek actually is running for governor in his home state. I think that's Ohio. And it seems as though he wants to focus on that rather than, any other type of position in the Trump administration. And, well, I guess we'll see what comes out of that. And somebody said, do I support ending the filibuster? Well, I think the ending the filibuster might be a good thing, because obviously we want to see more policies going through, more of the Trump policies going through without having this filibuster in place. And it might prove to be effective. Now, there's always been this talk about removing the filibuster from both sides, and yet it hasn't been done thus far. So it might just be a sort of tactic, a messaging, a type of messaging. We've always heard this thing, the nuclear option. And, is it just more of a political topic, a political conversation, a sort of threat that never actually goes through? Who knows? Who knows? But I think a filibuster would prove to be a good thing for the Republicans trying to fulfill Trump's agenda. And ultimately, I think what's holding his policies back is, of course, what happens in the House and the Senate. What are your guys' thoughts? Somebody said Australia average real estate price is 1 million. US is 400K. Really, I think it depends on where you live. The average real estate price is hitting, if not over 1 million in California. New York has to be quite, probably around the same, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really know much of New York's housing prices, but California prices, even in the Inland Empire areas or in the valley areas, the prices are pretty steep. Even in places like Santa Clarita, where you're paying for the land that you're living on, which is stupid. It's terrible. I get the idea. There's this new conversation talking about property tax, and this seems to be getting the attention of many people, whether we should abolish property tax or whether we should reconstruct it or rethink it, and how we can make property tax not as lucrative as it might be. Now, whether that is a conversation we want to have today, I think there are many people who are a lot smarter on this position than I would actually have looked into. But otherwise, the current ideas of property taxes, it's a good thing because it pays for a lot of items when it comes to police, when it comes to many other things. But also when people are talking about those that are their prices increasing because of the insane uptick in the market, where housing has gone through the roof, where the value of homes has exploded, really. And so, it's just an interesting topic to really think about because of this overall subject of affordability. Somebody said, "Where is gas $8 a gallon?" It's $2.95 here. Yeah, that seems a little bit high. The national average is $2.99 according to recent reports, but otherwise, $2.95 seems about right, depending on where you are. Whether it's I don't know, Texas, or not really sure where else it might be pretty low. You say thanks to corporations buying up real estate and limiting supply. Yes, it's really terrible that we have BlackRock and we have big corporations buying up and outbidding Americans. That is terrible. But of course, we have the lack of single family homes being built. I think it would be beneficial for the Trump administration to continue. I think this would be, if I'm not mistaken, in the big beautiful bill, to remove a lot of the restrictions when it comes to building homes, which would help. It would help get Americans. It would bring more supply to the demand that we're seeing in America. Now, a lot of what people are attributing to the high prices for homes is because of immigration, illegal immigration. Now, a huge influx of this, obviously. Somebody said gas is $3.60 plus in Arizona. Here in California, it's about $4 to $6, around that. I would say more like $4 to $5. And I think a lot of the reason why California is so expensive is because of Gavin Newsom not allowing, or rather trying to continue on taking on Trump by not allowing drilling. Some YouTube Punk, you said remove what kind of restrictions, like building codes? I think the sort of environmental restrictions when it comes to building communities, building homes. Obviously, the conversation is also too about the federal land, where it's not affecting places like national parks, but rather expanding the area that we can build on. And we have obviously the restrictions of not being able to build single family homes in California, which, I mean, honestly, I hate seeing being a delivery driver. I hate delivering in the multiplexes of, I don't even know if that's even the right word for it, but the multiple homes on one property. Especially in places like El Monte, or, think about those kind of places where you have multiple units in one property. You go down this long driveway, and a lot of the city is not upkept at all, obviously. So the addresses are not visible, not on the homes, not on the sidewalk, and the pavement is just bad. But these homes aren't able to be kept up, even with the high prices of rent. They don't take care of these places. YouTube Punk, you're asking, isn't the restriction you can only build single family homes? No. The restrictions are with, let me look this up really quick. Yeah, so it says restrictions on building single-family homes in California include a mix of statewide changes and local regulations, with recent laws like SB 9 allowing up to 4 units on lots previously zoned for single-family homes. Key restrictions involve state and local zoning laws, development standards like lot size, setbacks, and height, environmental protections, and design standards. These are ultimately what hold back contractors from even considering. Well, I mean, it's good if they want to invest in this. I do know somebody that I work with that has multiple properties and has made a good living doing what he does, and he just takes that as extra income. And yet he decides to work part-time to just kind of keep himself busy, really. But he has properties across California, properties across Arizona. But the legislation SB 9 allows for the creation of up to 4 units on a single family lot, either through either lot, subdivision, or building 2 primary units. So I think in general, I think maybe if you wanted to build, you would have to build a 2-lot property. But I mean, who's going to have the money to do that? You're not going to have any money to do that. Yeah. So, guys, final thoughts. Email me your questions, your comments, freedom@equallyyokeshow.com. You say, that sounds better than sprawl, thinking of LA. Yeah. Look, in cities that are like this, they just make for poor neighborhoods. I mean, that's really what a ghetto is. That's literally the definition of a ghetto. Just highly densely populated areas, especially when we're seeing these units. A lot of construction, too, with these units all over California. Somebody said, look up the $1 million toilet in San Francisco. I think it was community funded and built. City comes in and installs 1 toilet, $1 million. That's ridiculous. If that's actually true, I looked that up. But yeah, guys, I want to know your thoughts, final thoughts. And of course, what comment? You say, no, they don't. The problem is that it costs 8 times the salary that it did before. Regulations keep you safe. They aren't stifling builds. Wouldn't we want more single family homes? Wouldn't we want more American families wouldn't we want more American family homes to house young families? Anthony, based in California, a not so affordable state. So somebody call in, you say, density keeps things affordable. It's more efficient for builders and owners and renters. Not everyone needs an acre of land with a big house. Yeah, but look, it's going to be more profitable for owners and renters, those that rent out these units to families. But look at how they are kept. They're like disgusting in the sense that you have multiple family units, all of which they keep their, based on the ruling and regulations of the property manager, which they don't upkeep their buildings. They don't keep their landscaping. They don't keep their roads paved well. They're just bad. I mean, these aren't the only reasons, obviously, but why do we want to continue to be renters, though? That's the question. I don't want to just be a renter, because that money is going to waste. It's being wasted literally every month. I'd rather be putting that money right back by building my equity and actually having an asset that helps in times of inflation. Yeah, they're not, you say they're not profitable if people can afford them, but when you have more supply because of the demand being so high, they're obviously not, the supply is very limited. Therefore, the demand for these homes, it goes through the roof. You're having homes that are like 2-bed, 1-bath, especially in California. I'm speaking specifically about California. 2-bed, 1-bath. You got like a total of maybe 4 to maybe 5,000 square footage lot. If that, if you're lucky, it's going to be way less than that. And you're looking at a mortgage of $700K to $1 million. In a not even so nice neighborhood. I mean, you'd expect to pay something like that and have acres of land, at least more than an acre, spending that much. It's ridiculous. It's just not worth it to spend that much, let alone affordable. We have more supply. There's plenty of room in California, especially in the IE area, especially in the Valley area. Many places to build. And you're right as well, Skeeter. Corporate ownership of single family homes is keeping the price for them artificially high. They'll outbid these single family homes, and then what do? They rent them out, causing the rest of the neighborhood to skyrocket in value. And therefore, I mean, California implemented a policy that it actually, I forget who spoke on this. It was somebody on the the Charlie Kirk podcast talking about this policy that Gavin Newsom implemented for those, for these seniors, that it protects them if their properties go up in value. I forget what it is exactly. I think it's Prop 21 or something like that. Yeah, California is expensive. You say, plus what's up with the forest fires? Ask Gavin Newsom. Seems to be a very very knowledgeable. Prop 19. Yeah, I think you're right. Very knowledgeable on forest fires and making sure they burn long. Somebody said a streamer is close to socialism and he doesn't even know it. So what is it exactly about socialism that you cater to, or that socialism is catering to you, that would benefit American economy? California is a sanctuary state. Yes. I think, I don't know if, I know that LA is a sanctuary city. I don't know about, I think there are certain pockets of sanctuary cities. I don't know if that just automatically makes it a sanctuary state. It's possible, but I'm not sure. Yeah, and it was also we keep hearing about the stories of how easy it was to uh, be able to save, have extra money for a single family home being on one income. Yeah, so we got to talk about this at length. But if you guys would like to consider subscribing to the podcast so we can continue to have these conversations, please feel free to do so. God bless you for those that have joined this podcast, for those that are commenting. And I appreciate everything that you guys are saying in the chat. YouTube Punk, you say save, have extra money, send kids to college, go on vacation. Now, late stage capitalism owns us. I think there's policies that just need to be fixed because the socialistic VA that is not doing us any good, not doing veterans any good, is obviously proven to be a failure. And this is why they want to completely redo the VA. But otherwise, even then, a lot of the socialistic programs that we have, which we can go through in another podcast, aren't actually beneficial to the American economy when people think they are. We just have to go through that in another podcast. But otherwise, with closed borders and price regulations and personal responsibility, like some annual physical, and we can have universal health care. Otherwise, it's too expensive. Butter is $6 a knob. Where are you from, Ferguson? Out of curiosity, are you from America? Socialism like the roads you drive on. Yeah. Do you live in California? The amount of regulations that go into just repairing a simple, the construction that is Australia. Yeah, I realized because you said knob. Yeah, we don't. That's yeah. I figured. Yeah, Zach, you're right. The roads we drive on aren't good. At least here in California, there's potholes everywhere. And I think Gavin Newsom campaigned on potholes, and the money doesn't go into building roads and any of that stuff. Just not good policies. You say capitalism is not the best by far. This is in reply to Anthony. Say it needs strict controls in America. Corpos by politicians write the laws to benefit the corpos, not us. Look, again, capitalism is been proven, at least with the longest standing track record, to be effective. But it doesn't mean that there's no greed in it. There is greed in capitalism, of course. But socialism is a dangerous game that America is willing to play ball with. We'll have to dissect that through another podcast. But otherwise, guys, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Enjoy your work week as we start the Monday today. Whether you guys are starting early morning or whatever you guys are doing, God bless you. And hope you guys come back so we can continue this conversation about socialism and everything that is happening with this crazy economy that we're seeing. And Zach, you say greed and corruption in every system. That's just humanity. And this is why we trust and we rely upon the word of God, and why we rely upon God and his economy that we want to see coming into fruition. Skeeter, thanks for streaming. God bless you. Thank you. Why we want to see God's economy really become in effect. Which, when that happens, we can have that debate and conversation on another time. But in my point of view, in my understanding of Scripture, not based on my own understanding, but of course, based on the Holy Spirit and the context of the Word of God, his economy is going to be the best economy. No more starving children. How about that? No more mass shootings in schools. No more of the nonsense. But another topic, another debate for another day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for being here. Guys, this is the Equally Yoked Show. Consider subscribing, like the show, and I'll see you guys in the next one. God bless.